You've hit rock bottom. You found the courage to come to Alcoholics Anonymous because nothing else has worked. There's no doubt in your mind that you're powerless over alcohol. Your life has been on a downward slope of manageability for years. So you've accepted the fact that you're an alcoholic. You've come to Alcoholics Anonymous. What's next? Hi, I'm Cams. I'm an alcoholic. I'm here to give you some sobriety if you would like it. So take some of mine, I've got loads. This is the second video in a series that I'm doing that takes you through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Step 2 is a reflective step. It doesn't require any action other than to believe something. And what is that? Well, to believe that a power greater than yourself can restore you to sanity. Came to believe. Came to believe. What? Okay. We came to Alcoholics Anonymous. We came to, in other words, we woke up, and then we came to believe. So, how do you get there? So step 2 for me is a mindset step, just like step 1. And for that reason I would consider it to be the second most important step of all 12. What's the most important one? Step 1. You can see my video on that up here. Now, mindset is something that I believe can help you to get sober by changing your mindset. In the big book they talk about a psychic change. Now for me that just means a shift in mindset, a shift in perspective, a shift in belief, if you will. So what do I mean by that? Well, the reason I picked up a drink is because I had a mental obsession. When I wasn't drinking, I was thinking about drinking. When something bad happened in my life, my first thought was usually alcohol. When something good happened in my life, my first thought was usually alcohol. When I went back home to visit friends and family, the first thing I did was get drunk. Whenever I went out with friends anywhere, for meals, didn't matter where it was, alcohol was the first thing I thought about. So how does an alcoholic remove that thought from his or her mind? The idea that you may never drink again is a pretty big thing to grasp. It's a pretty scary thing because you immediately start to think about weddings and Christmas and birthdays and, oh my God, what about when my daughter gets married, or what about at a funeral, or, all of these thoughts, they become overwhelming and it seems impossible. Which is why in Alcoholics Anonymous they talk about one day at a time. And sometimes it can be broken down into even smaller chunks of time. As small as an hour, if you can get through the next hour without picking up alcohol, that's all you have to concentrate on. But the mindset issue for me is the big one. It's a shift in perspective. So let's unpack that. How do we shift our perspective on our own? Well, for me, I couldn't. It was never going to happen. I couldn't do it on my own, and Lord knows I had tried many, many times, many different things, with the help of my wife as well. All sorts of strategies. I was going to drink just beer, or I was going to drink just wine, or I was not going to drink until 8 p.m, or I wasn't going to drink through the week, or, none of it worked. So at the end of the step it mentions the word sanity. Let's take a look at that. Does it mean you're insane if you keep getting drunk? What does insanity mean? Well, there's a saying going around that purportedly comes from Einstein, but I think that has since been disproved, that insanity is the idea of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And it didn't mean that I was insane all the time. It didn't mean that I was not fit to be on the streets and I should be locked up. It just meant that I believed with all my heart that next time would be different. I could pick up a drink and get away with it. despite the fact that all the evidence pointed towards that not being true. So there was basically years and years and years of evidence showing me that I couldn't pick up a drink and then stop. But I continued to believe it right up until the very end. Why is that? I don't know. But they say in the big book that it's because of insanity. And in step 2 it says that you can be restored to sanity. Okay, that sounds like something I would like. How do I get that? Well, it comes from a power greater than myself. Okay. So that's telling me that I can't get sober on my own. I can't be restored to sanity. I can't have that mental obsession removed on my own. It has to come from some sort of external force, a power greater than myself. So what form could that power take? Well, it could be a doctor, a psychiatrist, a clergyman, a friend, a family member. Could be all sorts of things. But are those people I've mentioned, do they have a power greater than yourself? It's possible, yes, they might well have. I didn't try any of those things, apart from the friends and family. I did talk about it with friends and family and it never worked. That's all I can tell you. So anecdotally I would say that my friends and family did not have any greater power than I had to keep me from drinking. So I needed to find that external force somewhere else. In the group of Alcoholics Anonymous, when I first got there, I saw a bunch of people who did not look like I felt. I was just off the back of a binge, and I felt all the guilt and shame and remorse and the fear. OMG, the fear. The fear, I believe to this day, that caused me to start drinking in the first place and then to continue drinking for all those years. Fear is still part of my life today, but I know how to deal with it now. I have strategies in place. But back then I did not have that. So when I saw these people in the room, all that was expected of me, after having done step 1, which brought me to the room in the first place, all that was expected and asked of me was to come to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Now, one of the things you'll find in Alcoholics Anonymous is that the word God gets mentioned quite early on. And for me, it wasn't a problem. I know for some people it can be, and I understand that. The idea of coming to believe in God is quite a big concept for a newcomer to take on board, which is why step 2 is so beautiful. It doesn't mention the word God yet. It talks only of a power greater than yourself, which in Alcoholics Anonymous we refer to as your higher power. Now that higher power can take any form. It just has to be something greater than yourself. So for some people, it can be something so simple as the power of the group. In Alcoholics Anonymous, you're going to find a lot of shiny, happy people who have stories to tell and sobriety to share, experience, strength and hope. These are the things that the people in the rooms are going to share with you. So they're going to share their experience of what it was like. They're going to tell you what happened, and then they're going to tell you what it's like now. And through those shares, there's a very real possibility that you will come to believe that the power within those rooms is greater than you. And that certainly has been the case for me. Although when I got into Alcoholics Anonymous, I did have a belief in a higher power, which I've since come to call God. I'm not sure at the time that I would have done, but that's irrelevant. The name for it, as far as I'm concerned, is irrelevant. It just has to be something that you believe is greater than yourself, because you've already proved to yourself that you can't do it on your own. That's why one of the sayings that you'll see on the wall in meetings of AA is, "You are not alone." And that's why I finish my videos with that phrase. Alcoholism's a lonely business, and recovery can be too. But when you find a fellowship, and when you find that power that's greater than yourself within the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, you can start to feel that you're no longer alone. And that's really what can help you to find a mental defence against picking up that first drink. Because, believe it or not, it's the first drink that gets you drunk. It's not the 10th or the 20th, it's the first one. Because after that first one, you know what happens, don't you? If you're anything like I was, you're not going to stop at one. Why would you even bother? You know what I mean? All you need to do is not pick up the first one. Seems so simple, doesn't it? But that mental obsession is going to be there all the time. It was for me. And so when I got to the rooms and it was suggested to me that I come to believe that I could be restored to sanity in the first place, and that in order for that to happen, I would have to believe in a power greater than myself. Well, that didn't seem like too big an ask at all. So I have done a video before where I talked about whether religion is required to get sober, so you can check that out. TLDR, it isn't. It has nothing whatsoever to do with religion. You can come into Alcoholics Anonymous with the belief in a supreme being or not. You can be whatever faith under the sun or not. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you want this enough and that you acknowledge that you're no longer alone, and that by sitting with a group of drunks, G-O-D, you can find a higher power. You can find good, orderly direction. So you've come to believe that a higher power can restore you to sanity. What's next? Tune in for step 3. Thanks for watching. And remember, you're not alone.